All right, everyone. Welcome back to week 2 of the Resource Insider podcast, quarantined edition. It is currently Monday, and I am sitting down today with a gentleman named Mike Konnert. Now, those of you who are Resource Insider members will know Mike because he is the CEO of Vizsla Resources, one of the deals that we invested in last year. So we're going to catch up on Vizsla and see what they're doing. But more importantly, Mike is a young guy in the industry. He's about my age. He's been around in different roles. He's been an investor for some time now. He's one of the most well-connected young people, and frankly, well-respected young people that I'm calling them young people. He's really my age. I sound like I'm fucking 60 right now. But as a younger guy, he's done an amazing job of setting himself up, and he is one of the future leaders in the industry. Actually, he's one of the current leaders of the industry, and we're just going to talk about, from his perspective, what he sees going on in his own life, his own portfolio, and some advice he might have for younger investors that had been considering coming into the gold space, the precious metals space, and the mining space in general, and where they might be looking to position themselves and why this is such a good time to do that. So without further ado, my ramble is over. Mike, thanks for sitting down today and having a chat with me.
Thanks, Jamie. It's I think the third or fourth Zoom meeting I've done today, so I'm starting to get proficient at it. I think it seems like it's going to become a pretty big part of our day-to-day going forward here.
Man, if there was ever a time, I was thinking about all the stocks I should have bought prior to this. I mean, there's obviously all pharmacies, grocery stores, various medical supply companies, but also things like Zoom, Netflix, Crave, all the streaming services. I think they're just going to get like blasted. Like, I've been looking at different streaming services to buy. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I haven't even been watching that much TV. I've been so busy, but like, I don't pretend to know exactly how these tech companies are actually valued, but if it has anything to do with user engagement, then they're going to be going through the roof, I think, in the next few weeks.
Absolutely, and Amazon Prime too. Everybody's getting things delivered to their home. It's a lot of these tech companies are going to be beneficiaries, but I think overall the U.S. stock market has a pretty far drop in it to come. Seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we get into all of that, I think it'd be best if we give viewers or listeners a sort of 30,000 foot view of who you are and what Vizsla is and what you guys are focused on today. Can you give us that background?
Yeah, definitely. So I started Vizsla a couple of years ago. It was kind of a resource issuer company that I built. IPO'd on the venture exchange, and then subsequently built a team around it. We didn't really have a major project to go after, but about a year into the company, I brought a few kind of notable directors and partners of mine onto the board, and we came across a project down in Mexico. It's fantastic, district scale, high grade silver that you've been to, and it was kind of this really special opportunity that we had to put our foot on what seemed to be a true district scale opportunity in silver. And so we did that. And over the last 6 months, we've raised $6 million for drilling on the property. We've got an option that consolidated the whole district. And we've been having a lot of success with exploration. And I think there's a lot more to come.
So you guys came out of the gate really strong. We saw, from where I came in at 40 cents, we saw the share price more than double in the first month out of the gate. You guys put together a really aggressive drill program. You had some promising results come out, but you've had a hard hit, like many, many other junior miners over the last few weeks, understandably. And, I think a lot of the challenges that juniors are facing right now is the fact that the market knows at some point they're going to need to refinance. They're going to need to raise more capital to advance programs. And with capital in a state of frenzy at the moment, people are, I think, those are the first ones that often get cut from people's portfolios. So how are you guys managing this dilemma? And you've had a lot of shareholders remain in. You've got a big loyal following. How have you managed to convey confidence to them? And what should people who own the stock and are considering buying the stock know about what's going to happen at Vizsla over the coming months in a very uncertain time?
Yeah, it was funny. in January, we hit our all-time high, just under $1. And then we were at a metals investment forum, and everything was going quite well. It was quite exciting, and in Vancouver, and then fast forward a few weeks into run up to PDAC, and I was kind of on the way airport to PDAC. I was writing a new slide for a presentation, just in the taxi, basically talking about how we're going to deal with this problem that basically came over, as far as we saw it, overnight, and changed everything. So how we're conveying confidence. I mean, we have a team that's built businesses in the worst bear market, in the last 10 years. Sold businesses, built. We have an experienced team, and that's what shows the confidence. We're well funded, and that's important. But I think the most important thing that we're doing is just staying calm and analyzing the situation as it comes, and taking the necessary precautions. It's not something that we can make quick and rash decisions about. We just need to be patient and calm.
And, safety permitting, health and safety permitting, is the plan to continue what is, a pretty aggressive drill program to define a silver resource there in Mexico?
Yeah, exactly. We're still drilling right now down at the project. We've set up a lot of infrastructure around the coronavirus. So we have a quarantine house if we need it. We have all these procedures in place. We've actually brought consultants, medical consultants, into the local communities, and we're educating people in that area. We've decided to have people stay home, the helpers stay home if they feel unwell, and they'll still get compensation. So
Mm-hmm.
we're being very proactive on the project level with that. And as long as it stays safe to be there, we're going to continue drilling. But we're really cognizant of the fact that we're not trying to force people to go to work in a situation that'll be dangerous. I mean, that's the last thing we want to do. So we're monitoring that day to day.
And what's the outlook with respect to the virus in Sinaloa, in the Mazatlan area?
It's only been a few. It's actually had a call with someone you might remember, Oscar, from the video.
Yeah.
There. Had a call with him today, and Sinaloa seems to not be hit that hard. Overall in Mexico, I believe there's just over 300 cases so far. Maybe I think three deaths or something so far. So it's not still it's not a trivial number. We take it seriously, but it seems to me so far that it hasn't had the same prolific rise. But I think that's probably going to come at some point. I think it's going to come all over the world. But the attitude in Mexico is just be safe, but kind of continue some of these like drilling. But our team's quite isolated from the city. So
Yeah, so you're not seeing these aggressive lockdowns yet that we're seeing in the U.S., and it looks like they're going to be coming to Canada in the coming week or so. So there's still free movement. You can still get work done, but it's a wait and see scenario to a degree, it sounds like.
Yeah, and again, just got to make sure everybody's safe. So.
Okay, so outside of what you do at Vizsla, you've been in the mining industry for well over a decade now. You've been in various roles. You've been in pretty aggressive and committed investor, and we've talked about that at length over the years. Can we have a conversation for a minute about sort of where you're looking and where you see opportunities in the space right now?
Yeah, well, usually the deals that I invest in are my deals, and I've done better than investing in the market, investing in my own deals. But this seems to me to be such a screaming buy, maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity to buy some of these gold stocks, gold and silver stocks that I've actually taken a significant amount of cash and allocated it towards buying producers, developers, and streaming companies in the market over the past few days here, past few trading sessions. So it's funny you mentioned I have been investing for a long time. The first stock I bought, I think when I was a teenager, with birthday savings and that kind of stuff, was Agnico Eagle, and I just bought some of that the other day as well too. So I think specifically some of these Canadian companies that have costs, certainly in Canadian dollars, as well as fuel as major inputs, and they have kind of isolated projects in the north. I think they're going to be less affected by the virus. I think that their costs are going down, and they're getting paid in U.S. dollars for the gold that they produce. So that to me seems like it's going to create a great opportunity to become very profitable. And I think gold's going to be rising in the future here. It can continue to rise, and I think when general investors look to see who to buy, which stocks to buy, they're going to look at the ones that have become very, very profitable over the last few months.
Yeah, you mentioned in the north and a bit isolated. That is a factor I hadn't really considered before talking to you about it earlier today. So you mentioned Nico Eagle, who obviously has a lot of operations, or not a lot, has operations in Nunavut, but I think also northern Finland, I think, if I'm right on that. So you're getting these highly isolated camps that are fly in, fly out, that they're able to control the flow of employees very, very carefully. As long as they are able to keep the virus out of there, there's, to me, it seems there's very little reason why they would have to shut down versus some of these more accessible projects, maybe in, I don't know, like, for example, the Nevadas in the world. And normally I would say that that scenario is 100% flipped. You'd much prefer the accessible projects in Nevada, but this is a unique time. Do you have any thoughts on timing to enter the market? A lot of the conversations I've been having, that's what I've been trying to figure out. And I've been buying some stock now, and I've talked about buying Sandstorm, for example, the other day. But for the most part, I've been waiting, and I've been holding cash, and I've been trying to time my entry, which is maybe a fool's game. But you know, I'm of the feeling it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I started having the dreaded FOMO before I entered the market there. I had this fear that I don't think things will. I think there is a risk that things recover faster than we expect, but I don't. It seems to me that we're going to have a few more weeks or months of potential buying. But I did start my initial positions on a number of names, specifically silver names. This actually earlier today. And the reason for that is I feel that silver's probably had the biggest downside drop it's going to have. I think it's recovering. I think today it's up another dollar. And you look at names like Pan American who have shut down. I think that's probably priced in a little bit here so far. But I'd rather be in it right now than out of it. And I'm going to continue to add on weakness if that happens. But I'm very happy to kind of have these started positions. So timing, it's always so hard to say, but for me, it was kind of a gut feeling to jump into some of these names to start.
Yeah, fair enough. Because, I think there's a good chance that we could still see companies get halved again, because the reality is there are going to be mines that get shut down, and no one knows for sure where that's going to be. We're seeing it in places like Peru already. You mentioned Pan America had already seen some mines shut down there. Could this happen in Nevada? Could this happen throughout Latin America and Mexico? Yeah, very likely, I think. I actually think a really interesting play for that is I'm waiting for some more mines to get shut down, is what the impact will be on streaming and royalty companies. Because when a stream or royalty is halted, even temporarily, it tends to really crush the royalty companies, which is very ironic because they don't bear any of the responsibility for the continued operating capital costs, et cetera, of having a mine on care and maintenance, but they tend to get penalized hard. So that, in my mind, could be a real buying opportunity. And I'm kind of waiting and seeing, when it's going to happen and where it's going to happen. Maybe it won't. And from a bigger perspective, hopefully, we're not seeing mines get shut down. But if we do, there's going to be some good opportunities. And, it's going to impact metal prices. If we start seeing even 5 to 10% of the mines getting shut down, like, I can't see how that's not just, doesn't have an astronomical effect on gold price or whatever metal that happens to be primarily affected.
Yeah, that's particularly interesting in copper. I think you look at mines in Chile and Peru that are shutting down, and they listening to one of your earlier podcasts with Warren Irwin. He was talking about the recovery in Asia and the fact that they're buying metal like crazy. They're going to be buying metal like crazy. Then you have the shutdown of supply in South America. So I think particularly that might be helpful for base metals. But I think when you look at what's happened with gold and silver, gold. Let's talk about gold particularly. I mean, the Fed just announced QE infinity, times two. Let's go. I mean, it's just never going to end. It's unprecedented, and they're basically going to do anything they can to get this economy out of recession. I mean, it's probably already in recession, but they're going to do anything that they can to stimulate the economy with money printing, even helicopter money, that type of thing. Gold moved up today on that news. I think gold got sold off, got thrown out with the bathwater when everything else was collapsing, and it created this opportunity. And coupled with that, I mean, there was that JNUG ETF implosion, and now these the juniors are kind of retesting their bottom from the since 2010. So there's all these opportunities, I think, brought on by kind of these basically by having the liquidity crunch and the margin call over the last few weeks. So precious metals I'm bullish on right now. I think probably the shutdown of the mines is going to lead to good opportunities in copper shortly here soon.
So what do you think investors that are new to the space should be thinking about? There are a lot of guys and girls our age who have experience investing. A lot of them bought, and some of them made a lot of money in the pot and weed stocks. Some of them, a much smaller amount, maybe made some money in the Bitcoin and the crypto stocks. But it's starting from a macro perspective, and I think anyone that's paying any attention will see it's starting to make a much stronger case to look at mining, and particularly gold companies. For those, do you see a lot of, quote unquote millennials rushing into this space? Do you think there's something that they should keep in mind? And do you have any advice for those entering this space for the first time, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, first of all, I'd say congratulations, because I think you picked the the right time to do it, because I think when the millennials and when younger people enter the mining story is when things are going to have already moved up, and people will be talking about, I made this money on this stock, or look at how profitable these companies are, and it'll become vogue again. That always tends to happen in these cycles. I think in the past people have always said, gold's or mining's antiquated, mining's over, and then you have a bull market in something, and that kind of begets the interest of other investors. So I think start looking if you haven't put together a list of stocks you might want to buy in the industry. I think that would be a good place to start, but keep an eye on it, and it doesn't hurt to buy a little bit to start.
Yeah, it's funny what you just said about how they think mining's over, or people want to stay away from mining. Probably, so PDAC 2019, so last year, I was on a panel for millennials in mining and how to get more millennials invested in mining. So when it came to my time to talk, I was asked, why aren't millennials investing in mining companies right now? And I didn't think it was because of mining being dirty or not being as sexy as tech. I thought that those answers were bullshit. I think the only reason millennials hadn't been invested in mining was because there's been very, very few opportunities to make money in the mining space in the last 10 years. And if you didn't sort of come up professionally in the industry like you or I did, it made a lot more sense to be putting your money into marijuana stocks and even, blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto stocks for a time being. But I think we're at a point now where that is going to change. And, for those out there who are interested in venture stage companies, in venture capital, in taking a portion of their risk capital and putting it in things that have the potential for 10x returns, right now, you cannot beat mining companies, I don't think. I think tech, I think marijuana, I think all that stuff is just, it's secondary or tertiary. Mining is in gold is where you want to be, at least for right now.
Well, if you look at, go back and look at the U.S. stock market, I think the numbers are like, it would take like 56% sell off to get to the long-term mean valuation, 74% sell off to get to one standard deviation below. So there's going to be a lot of pain in the larger U.S. markets to come here, and that's where all these tech companies, the FANG and everything like that, are involved in. But we've already had that in mining. We've already had our bouncing off the bottom lows. And the way up here is going to be so massive that it's not, you won't be able to avoid it. It's going to be popular. It's going to be topical, and I think that's what's going to bring younger people in to invest in. It only takes one massive discovery to kind of set that off. I know we've heard that how many times from from Rick Roll and whoever else at conferences, but it's true. And we started to see some of those, like Silvercrest and the Great Bears of the world, and I think that helps. It brings more people in, but one day soon, it's going to be really roaring, and people are going to want to be part of it.
I couldn't agree more, and quite frankly, I am very much looking forward to seeing a complete decimation of the venture tech space. I am so annoyed with all these stupid companies that are another chat app that get like a $50 million check for like a 22-year-old with a computer right out of the gate, and no chance and no plan of making money ever in the future. So I think those things need to go away and die. And I'd love to see some of that capital redeployed in the mining space, where even the venture companies, even the exploration companies, the ones that are getting funded right now, they are tied to real assets. There is, Vizsla is a perfect example. It's not cash flowing yet, but there's silver in the ground. There's a known asset there. There's the potential for returns. This is where I think money is going to be wanting to go in the future. These crazy growth stories, for the time being, they're over. And I think people want something of real value, and mining's going to deliver it. And I'm extremely excited about what we're going to be seeing out of the markets over the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And, I think that's why you and I both kind of dedicated our professional lives to this industry, because, the potential is there to be very, very successful at this. So.
All right, Mike, I know you got a lot of other calls to make today and things to do, so I think we'll leave it at that. But anything else you think our viewers should know about you or Vizsla, or a good way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, just visit our website, vizslaresources.com. We have a pretty active social media accounts and lots of videos on there. But if you want to reach out and talk to me, just send an email or call.
And I will add to that, earlier this year, me and my team, we went down and saw Vizsla's site. We shot a really, really cool site visit video where we got to go underground, look at the project, talk to the geologists, and really help provide an idea to investors of the true value there. I had a great time. I walked away extremely impressed. So that video is going to be coming out in probably the next 2 weeks. It's called Unknown Capital. It's the Vizsla edition. I highly recommend you follow our YouTube channel, Resource Insider, if you're not already. And if you're listening to this on audio, check us out on YouTube. This is a video as well. And, that video is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, and I highly recommend you check it out. So, Mike, thanks again for coming in, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jamie. Take care.
All right. You as well.